it going? We're going. Hello and welcome to Raw Architecture. My name is Andrew Hernandez. I'm a California licensed architect. And today we're going to discuss the soft costs versus the hard costs of a construction project. Now, before we get started, I'd like to invite you to visit the Amazon link below to see my book, How to Become an Architect Without a Degree. It is a guide to understanding the entire architectural licensing process in North America and is available in paperback and Kindle. In this book, you'll learn what an architect is, what an architect does, how much architects make, and of course, how to become an architect. With the holiday season coming, it is a great gift idea for the young adult or soon-to-be high school graduate or anyone who's curious about architecture as a career. Whether they are attending an accredited university or following the unconventional work experience equivalent option, after reading, you will be armed with enough information to decide if architecture is a career you would like to pursue. We also have other products available, digital plan sets, AutoCAD templates, and architectural coloring books. Check out the links in the description below. Now, moving along to soft costs versus hard costs in a construction project. If you're a property owner and you're looking to do a construction project for the first time, you'll be looking at a multitude of costs. Taking a piece of dirt to a fully developed property is a massive undertaking, and you'll have a number of engineers, an architect, special consultants, plan check fees, permit fees, school fees, taxes, appraisals, closing costs if you're purchasing the property, agent fees, deeds and title related fees, and perhaps many more depending on the type of project you're doing and the pre-construction related costs that would fall under and into the soft costs category. Now on to hard costs. These are all post-permit issued construction related costs. General contractors, subcontractors, labor, building materials such as concrete, framing, drywall, roof systems, etc. Equipment such as the tractor, cranes, trucks, saws, nail guns, that kind of equipment. However, those are often provided by the contractors and included in their fees. You also have insurances, fixtures, finishes, furniture, special equipment like elevators and escalators, or if the project is more on an operations side of things like services and production, you have hospitals, which have a lot of equipment and machines such as MRI machines, X-ray machines. You also have airports that have baggage tracks that commute luggage all over the airport terminals and gates. Another example would be factories often have heavy equipment for production lines. Dental offices have med gas lines and other dental related equipment. And I'm going a little overboard with the examples, but I really want to press the point that when we build structures and we use structures like we use a car or a phone, there are a lot of components that we don't think about, and sometimes those things are part of the cost. So as a property owner going into a development project, you, the architect, and general contractor are all going to work together to identify the costs and use that information for decision-making purposes, either to keep the cost down or move some of the budget to a more important part of the project focus. Now, a little bit of framework for a typical construction project. Most new construction and major renovation and remodel projects are funded by a construction loan. Provided by a bank, the property owner or managing entity will put up some sort of collateral for the loan. The property itself, a separate property, or an amount of cash locked in an escrow account, or any combination of assets that are acceptable to the bank lending the money. Some loans can be co-signed by a partner on the project, and they take a piece of the profit at the end of the project. Property development can be very creative on the money side of things, and there are multiple ways to fund a project. I'm sure you're wondering, what does this have to do with soft costs and the hard costs of a project? So in my experience and observation on projects I've been involved in, that banks typically only fund the hard costs and not the soft costs. The main reason is because the soft costs all contribute to the final design of the project. A bank cannot lend money for a project that has no tangible way of estimating the cost of construction. Without a fully developed design and set of plans, it's impossible to know an estimated cost of construction. Okay. Again, there is an architect, several engineers, and specialty consultants that all contribute to the full building design. For example, if we are building a 2-story, 20,000 square foot office building, how much does the mechanical system cost? Are these open offices? If so, we can use a few large HVAC systems to condition the spaces. However, if these are 10 2,000 square foot tenant spaces, then we need to provide 10 separate mechanical systems so that each space can be controlled individually. These are two vastly different designs that the engineers would be implementing, and the cost of 3 large units and ducting versus 10 units and ducting could vary significantly. That's just one example. I can come up with 50 other examples within the same kind of project parameters that would come up with the same kind of hiccups that you would run into prior to having a fully developed plan. But I think you get the point. The design needs to be 95% complete before the bank will fund the loan based on the estimate generated from the plans or from the design, from all disciplines, the architect, all the engineers, and any specialty consultants that are required for the project. So if you cannot borrow the money for the soft costs and you can only borrow the money for the hard costs, how much money do you need to cash flow the soft costs for a construction project? The simple answer is minimum 5 figures to 6 figures for low level and mid level projects, and millions for major projects. Now, here's an example of how much soft costs are in a 2024 new construction house in Orange County, California, where I currently do a lot of work. These are actual soft costs of a project we have under construction right now. We just did this project. It's a beautiful 2-story, 3,000 square foot house, new construction in Orange County, California. So here are the soft costs for a 2-story, 3,000 square foot, 2-car garage, new construction home in Southern California. The architectural fees, so we have soft costs, we have the design team, around $25,000 for the architect. I way undercharged for this, but that is a topic that is for another video, I guess. Structural engineering was around $10,000. Title 24 energy calculations was around $800. The geotechnical report, soils report, was $6,000. The topographic survey was $2,500, and the total engineering, civil engineering for the main components of the project were around $9,000. $3,500 for water plans, $2,500 for a sewer plan, and $3,000 for water quality plans and grading plans. We had 2 extra civil engineer services on this particular project, and $2,000 of that was an easement document and a exhibit that needed to be done for an alley dedication. And then on the front side of it, where we were abandoning the drive approach, the driveway, we had an encroachment permit and some city standard plans that we had to implement into the project. That was around $1,500 to do that. So separate from the design team and all of the components that are required for the plans themselves, we have all the city fees. The water meter was $6,900. Sewer fees were $3,600. Plan check fees were $6,500. School fees were around $2,500. The taxes, I think, were approximately $7,500. I'm not sure on that. It's around that number though. And then fees that were, there were additional fees that the owner paid that I'm not sure exactly what bucket they fall into, but it was around $5,000 when I look back at the paperwork. So total soft costs for this particular project was $88,943. Wow, that's an incredible amount of money before you even break ground, huh? Welcome to Southern California. Now, I'm sure people will hem and haw about how they could do it cheaper and so on and so forth, but like I said, this is an actual project of ours that is permitted and currently under construction right now, today. It's October 19th, 2024. And over the last about year, we spent designing and getting this thing permitted for construction. Those were the numbers. And by the way, the owner is a seasoned developer who has done this dozens of times. He's been around the block. He knows where and when to cut costs, and that was still the cost to him to do this project. Okay, now I want to get into the rest of the project, the rest of the numbers. I'm sure you're curious about how much did the property cost? How much was the cost of construction? $90K for soft costs is pretty incredible. So I'm going to give you the numbers, and basically we had $90,000 for the soft costs for a 3,000 square foot, 5-bedroom, 4-bathroom, new construction home in Orange County, California. Those were just the soft costs. I'm sure there's a little bit more to it than that, so we'll call it a cool $100,000. Okay, the property owner bought that property for $1.4 million. There was an existing house on it. We completely demolished it. It was built in the 50s. It was basically dilapidated and had, I think, 3 additions and renovations done to it. It was not usable, not feasible to save. So we completely demolished it, put in a new house. So $1.4 million plus the $100,000 for soft costs. That brings us to $1.5 million. Construction cost for the new project is going to be around $1.1 million, maybe $1.2 million. Always varies. Construction costs can vary depending on materials, time of year you buy stuff, and just a number of other factors, but it's going to cost around $1.1 million to build that house. So that brings us to $2.5 to $2.6 million to fully build this project. Now, of course, the next question is, how much is it going to be worth when it's done? This market in that neighborhood, the estimated value once the project is complete is $3.8 million. So after all said and done, the owner is going to clear $1.3 million. This project will take a full 22 months to 24 months to complete. That means from when I was hired to do the design, around the time the property was purchased, to getting it all the way designed, permitted, and then all the way through construction. will be approximately 22 months to 24 months. So they are making a tremendous amount of money in a relatively short amount of time when you really think about it. On a single project, they have multiple projects going on. And yes, there are closing numbers and closing costs and taxes, and there's still a lot of money left on the table after the sale and after all those fees and costs are allocated. Now, one of the hardest parts for me is watching all of this and knowing how much work I put in to move this project along. And as I said, I did not charge enough. As a newer architect, I'm still learning how to price whilst also trying to stay competitive, because there are some architects that will do this stuff for nearly nothing, and it's challenging to navigate. Architecture has a culture problem related to pricing and business operations that newer architects are trying to break, and we are getting closer and closer to breaking those bad habits, but architects clearly do not charge enough money. The increase in property value that architects contribute vastly outweighs what we are currently charging. It's quite embarrassing actually as an industry, and pretty ridiculous that we have not figured out how to price this yet and communicate to these property owners how much property value is increased when we finish the project. I was speaking with a mentor of mine, a colleague, and he designed a house that took him 3 years. And again, this is in Orange County. And he finished the project. He mentioned he charged around 100 grand for his architecture fee. And they finished the project in about 3 years, and the construction took another about 1.5 years. So almost a 5-year project. He made $100,000 over 5 years of his involvement in the project. They finished the project, and the house sold for $18 million. And then 3 years later, it sold for $24 million. So there's a lot of money left on the table, and without his design, without his excellent design, that property value would not be what it is. He created an $18 million residential house that churned and flipped and gained $6 million in value over a couple of years. It's just insanity. So I, for one, am trying to navigate some of these narrow waters of how to price as an architect, how to demonstrate property value increase as an architect and not just value as an architect. So I'm learning from these mistakes. I'm implementing better pricing practices to make sure I'm compensated properly, but I'm pursuing that increase in property value as one of the elements of my fee, because I cannot watch a realtor make 4% of a $3.8 million sale for a house I designed and spent over a year working on. $150,000 for listing and selling a property versus my architecture fee is simply madness. I'm still figuring it out. I'm punching numbers and working with different architects on how to approach this. I don't know what the percentage is going to be. I'm looking at 0.5 point to up to a point that makes sense for architects to be additionally compensated for the increase in property value after the project's complete. I think that makes some sort of sense. I know that there'll be a lot of dialogue and discussion about that. I'm talking with my mentors. I'm talking with some of my colleagues on how to impactfully increase our prices, because if any of you know an architect or know someone who works at an architect's office, we work ungodly hours and we bend over backwards for our clients to make sure that design gets done, the permit gets issued, and the construction is not held up. And it's very, very difficult to price that all of those hours out at the beginning of a project, because every project is very, very unique and has unique problems that we encounter. And sometimes it's jurisdictional, sometimes it's site related, sometimes the dirt on the property is garbage. And we have to sit there and redesign and rethink and reevaluate how, when we get locked into a contract, it becomes very difficult to navigate those waters. And like I said, the architecture culture around pricing and around the workload we have is gotta change. And I know that myself and a lot of newer architects, newly licensed architects within the last 5-10 years are pursuing changing that culture, but it's going to take some time and we will get there eventually. Thank you for watching. I invite you to support this channel further by subscribing, commenting, and leaving a like, and checking out the links for our products below in the description. Thank you.